Internationalization, localization, globalization, and culturalization are terms that Xuan uses to describe the processes by which applications are culturally adapted. We will be using these terms in the context of GNC's Singapore and US websites to analyze their current approach and offer recommendations for improvement.
Internationalization is when designers scrub a website of any culturally specific references to create a base template that can easily be modified to make regional versions of the site. When we look at the GNC US and Singapore sites, we can easily see that the site designers do not use internationalization. An international website would have obvious elements that align with different cultures. These elements can be visual displays such as colors and logos, or languages such as the language of the website or wordings of the advertisement.
Localization is when designers take the internationalized version of a product and adapt it to a certain region. This helps to ensure that the product meets the overall standard while also being culturally specific. However, since GNC does not use internationalization, they do not use localization either. Globalization is the idea that since the internet allows people across the world with common interests to connect, culture will be based on these interests rather than location. For instance, GNC might use this philosophy if it uses similar terms specific to fitness enthusiasts across all of its sites. However, we see that the US and Singapore sites use different terms. For instance, the Singapore site uses acronyms to refer to brands of protein powder, while the US site spells out the brand names. Additionally, the Singapore site has literally translated the phrase beauty from within to refer to beauty pills. However, in the US, that phrase is figurative and refers to beauty from personality or character traits.
Culturalization can be thought of as the opposite of globalization because it encourages the incorporation of individual elements of the different cultures. Looking at both of the GNC websites, we can see that the layouts, products, and color schemes are especially different. We believe that this was caused by GNC's focus on displaying cultural elements on each of the websites. One interesting example is that even for Valentine's Day, which is originally a Western holiday, the Singapore website features gift baskets and such. The US website, however, there was not a single featured product. This emphasizes the fact that Singapore or Eastern culture is more focused on holidays where people interact with one another. In order for GNC to create a consistent worldwide brand, we think that's best that they begin using internationalization and localization. Our first recommendation is that GNC should develop one general site template and adapt it to the local sites. This will involve creating one base template where the layouts, fonts, and colors can be modified to fit each of the regional sites. Our second recommendation is that when a user attempts to access the GNC site, he or she should be automatically redirected to the website of the right country. This is to prevent the user from accidentally accessing the global site, which in this case is the US version. Our third recommendation is that GNC should allow users to easily switch between regional sites. And finally, to give GNC credibility as a global brand, we recommend that both of the US and Singapore websites contain language translation and regional switching options.
Overall, we felt that GNC simply didn't use strong or unique metaphors in their web design. The only metaphors that we observed were fairly common, such as some buttons on the US website changing color when pressed, much like elevator buttons in real life. However, Xuan's discussion of metaphors in web design did give us some ideas for what metaphors that we would recommend that GNC adopt. For instance, Xuan's dimensions of richness, suitability, allure, originality, and transferability help show us that we believe that GNC should focus on the categories of suitability and transferability. This is because we recommend that GNC adopt one global template as its approach, and we believe that these two categories would differ the least based on culture. Specifically, one metaphor that we recommend that GNC adopt is that of a file folder. We could see this applied to GNC's top navigation menu, where maybe clicking on one category of product would display a list of items in that category. We feel that this metaphor would suit GNC's diverse product line well and would be easily understood from any cultural perspective.
Here it all identifies aesthetics, emotion, functionality, harmony, and appropriateness as key qualities by which visitors evaluate websites. While both the Singapore and US sites have similar color palettes of red, gray, and white, they utilize them in different ways. The different cultural meanings and the different proportions of the colors used make the interpretations of these websites varied. In most Eastern cultures, red is symbolic of good luck, celebration, happiness, and prosperity, while gray is representative of helpers and travels. And lastly, white is mostly negative connotations of death, mourning, funerals. Western cultures view these colors differently. Red is symbolic of danger, love, passion, and excitement, while gray-silver is symbolic of style and money. White is symbolic of marriage, peace, hospitals, and holiness. And lastly, blue symbolizes trust, soothing, and sadness. The Singapore site is mainly bare, with the white background taking up the majority of the surface area. There's also white padding on each side with red on top of each of those. All colors are displayed as solid blocks and do not interact with each other. On the US site, gray is the most common color, and dark shades of gray are used to draw contrast with the white background. Red is usually used for accent text, while blue is also used as text. As opposed to the Singapore website, the US site is much more vibrant and dynamic since it uses several shades of gray gradients to transition between colors. We believe that the company should make its Singapore site more culturally appropriate by reducing the amount of white in its color scheme, and it would be best to reformulate the color scheme to feature more gray and red because most Asian cultures do view it as good fortune.
The US site has menu items and headings horizontally across the top, while the Singapore site has them vertically down the side. Where Singapore has few unclickable categories with a subsection link such as vitamins, minerals, lifestyle and health, sports nutrition, and herbal supplements, the US site has more categories with rollover submenus. From the hierarchy of the product listing on the left navigation bar, it is notable that the GNC Singapore puts more emphasis on selling vitamins and minerals and lifestyle and health supplements for longevity, nutrition, and immunity. Sports nutrition is listed at the bottom of the navigation bar, denoting less importance, which is in contrast to the United States site, where it's second on the navigation bar. We recommend that the Singapore site adopt rollover menu buttons like the US site, and move to a horizontal top menu as well to eliminate the need for scrolling. The Singapore website should also eliminate the new in-store feature in the right column, as it does not draw the customer's attention and seems like a waste of space. It would be more useful to have product specials and promotions instead. We also recommend the US site adopt a sliding hero image like the Singapore site to draw more attention to important products and promotions.
At first glance, it is very obvious that GNC takes an anarchist approach to organize its Singapore and American websites. The US and Singapore sites are not coordinated. Just by looking at the Singapore and American GNC websites, we can easily tell that the designers for each site did not have a common set of style rules. The American website has eye-catching graphics, bold colors, and fonts to grab the attention of the viewers on the latest deals and customer reviews. Whereas the Singapore website is much more plain, has far fewer graphics, simple HTML and CSS styles, and has more white space and less content than the GNC US website. GNC America is clearly seen as a central and most superior website because GNC is headquartered in America. Taking a look at GNC Europe's website will further support the fact that GNC takes an anarchist approach to organizing its websites, since its design is completely different from that of US and Singapore. Despite the evident differences in website design, it is quite clear that GNC translates the regional content and uses it in a regional context, thereby justifying the fact that GNC does not take a monarchist approach to website design. The American website comes across as individualistic from its emphasis on fitness, body image, and sexual health supplements, while the Singapore website comes across as collectivistic, as the website emphasizes on longevity, preservation of youth, and beauty from within. By taking an anarchist approach, GNC is incurring high costs by producing the content for each regional website independently. To solve this problem, GNC should have an explicit universal website design and a clearly defined purpose of the translation assignment for its various regional websites. GNC's global websites will be more organized, appealing, and cohesive when it comes to regional branding and product advertising, if they take this subsidiary approach. In terms of language, the most popular language in either country is English, which is used in both websites. However, if other languages of the country were included, such as Malay, Tamil, and Mandarin for Singapore, and then Spanish for the US, that can be helpful for the websites.
To supplement our prototype design, we applied interface design principles from a well-regarded textbook, Interface Design by Priest, Sharp, and Rogers. The 5 principles are: visibility that allows the users to see parts of the website easily, feedback that provides user information about their actions, constraints that reduce user errors, consistency that enables habitual learning of the website through usage, and finally, affordance that provides cues about using a website elements by intuition. We evaluated GNC.com using these principles for more ways to improve our prototype. Firstly, visibility. We felt that the US website has insufficient visibility. The website feels cluttered, busy, and slightly overwhelming for new users. The number of buttons and advertisements results in a high level of visual clutter. Next, feedback. There are some inconsistent feedbacks in the US website. Particularly, for some buttons, there are no reactions when the user moves their cursor over them. Therefore, we feel that it's better if the website standardized and improve the feedback to the users. We have the constraints principle. The GNC website features dozens of different brands in each of its 11 product categories. Its layout does an admirable job to present the sheer amount of options. Although the buttons are slightly too close together and without any clear borders, it is reasonably easy to select any option. A small issue is how the pop-ups disappear immediately when the cursor leaves its boundaries. Next, we have the consistency principle. The generally standard layout throughout the GNC US website enables it to score well in consistency. The main flaws in this aspect are the discrepancies between buttons in different sections, as discussed earlier in the visibility section. Lastly, affordance principle. The GNC US website is generally well labeled, which enables the users to learn the usage through exploration. The only slight flaw in this aspect is that the search bar is not very visible despite its important functionality. But overall, we feel that the website has generally high affordance.